Welcome students. During this session, I would like to recall clauses and its kinds in order to comprehend conjunctions or linkers. Clause is a group of words in a sentence that consists a subject and a finite form of verb. For example, after he left work, he headed straight for the hotel. If we split this sentence into meaningful clause, this is how we can split it meaningfully. After he left to work. So, the next part of the sentence, he headed straight for the hotel. When we split the sentence into two, meaningfully, if the part of the sentence gives a complete meaning, it becomes a definite clause or a principal clause. We will take a taxi because the car has broken down. So, if we split the sentence this way, we will take a taxi. This part of the sentence gives a complete sense, whereas because the car has broken down does not give a complete sense. He will inform when he receives the message. So if we split the sentence meaningfully, he will inform becomes a part of the sentence which gives a complete sense, whereas when he receives the message gives a incomplete sense or a partial sense. Now, the part of the sentence that makes a good sense by itself or stands by itself as a complete sentence is called a principal clause or a main clause. Now, we should see the part of the sentence that gives a good sense and it should stand by itself, not depend on the other part. So, such part of the sentence becomes a principal clause or a main clause. He headed straight for the hotel gives a complete meaning. Next, we will take a taxi gives a complete sense or a good sense or it stands by itself. So, we will take a taxi becomes a main clause or a principal clause. He headed straight for the hotel is a complete sentence and it stands by itself. So, it becomes a principal clause or a main clause. He will inform is a part of a sentence which gives complete sense and it stands by itself. So, this part of the sentence becomes a principal clause or the main clause. Next, the part of the sentence that does not make a complete sense, does not make a complete sense, but it depends on the main clause. So, it depends on this part of the sentence depends on the main clause. Okay. So, it depends on the main clause. Such type of sentence becomes a dependent clause or a subordinate clause. In the first sentence, we see after he left work does not give a complete sense. So, it depends on the other part which is giving a good sense or a complete sense, which is also called a main clause. So, this part of the sentence which depends on the other part which is giving complete sense or a main clause becomes a subordinate clause. I rewrite. After he left work becomes a subordinate clause as it depends on the main clause. We will take a taxi as a main clause. The rest of the sentence, which is the part of the sentence, becomes a subordinate clause because the car has broken down. It cannot stand by itself. It depends on the main clause of the same sentence. So I rewrite the subordinate clause. The part of the sentence because the car has broken down does not give a complete sense and it depends on the main clause. So it is called a subordinate clause. Next one, he will inform is a main clause. When he receives the message, which is a part of a sentence but does not give a good sense. Okay, and it depends on the main clause. So this part of the sentence becomes a dependent clause or a subordinate clause. So this is how we see the two kinds of clauses. One is main clause and the subordinate clause. Main clause is also called a principal clause because it stands by its own. Whereas subordinate clause is also called a dependent clause as it depends on the main clause in the same sentence. Let us now identify the main clause and the subordinate clause. Although it was raining, Sina went for jogging. So if we split the sentence meaningfully, we get the main clause here. Sina went for jogging. It stands by itself and it is a principal clause. So it is a main clause. Whereas although it was raining is a part of a sentence depending on the main clause becomes a subordinate clause. Next one, I am glad that you like it. So if we split the sentence meaningfully, I am glad gives a complete sense and it is a main clause. That you like it becomes a subordinate clause because it depends on the other part which is giving a complete sense or the main clause. If you practice hard, you may win. So here we see you may win gives a complete sense and it becomes a main clause, whereas if you practice hard is a dependent clause because it does not give a complete sense. So this becomes a subordinate clause. You may sit wherever you like to. So we split the sentence meaningfully as you may sit, which gives a complete sense. So this becomes a main clause. Wherever you like becomes a subordinate clause. While walking in the park, Daman saw squirrel. Daman saw squirrel is a part of the sentence which gives a complete sense and it is a main clause. Whereas while walking in the park becomes a subordinate as it depends on the main clause. I don't like film magazine because they are full of gossip. Here this gives a complete sense and it becomes a main clause. I don't like film magazine gives a complete sense. because they are full of gossip is a part of the sentence which depends on the main clause or the principal clause, so it becomes a subordinate clause. Rajat came after I left home. So we split it meaningfully. Rajat came gives a complete sense or complete meaning, and it is a main clause. After I left home is a part of a sentence which depends on the main clause, becomes a subordinate clause. I met the girl whose eyes were blue. So we split it. I met the girl is a complete sentence or a part of the sentence which gives a complete sense, and it's the main clause. Whose eyes were blue depends on the main clause, so it is a subordinate clause. I remember the town where I grew up. I remember the town gives a complete meaning or a good sense, and it is a main clause. Where I grew up depends on the main clause of the same sentence, and it becomes a subordinate clause. The last one, we shall wait until you come. So if we split it meaningfully, we shall wait becomes a main clause and gives a good sense. Until you wait is a part of a sentence which depends on the main clause, and so it is a subordinate clause. Now we shall learn about conjunctions. Conjunctions are also called as connectors or linkers, as they connect sentences, words, phrases or clauses. So they are words which connect. Okay. So we shall just study the examples to see the connecting words or phrase or sentences. Take this and give that. So you see it joins phrases or connects phrases with a conjunction, and she must eat or she will die. These are separate clauses joined by conjunction or. Next one, he is ill, but he still goes swimming. He is ill is a part of a sentence. He still goes swimming is another part of a sentence joined by conjunction but. Let's see the different types of conjunctions. Conjunctions are grouped according to the functions they perform. First one, correlative conjunction. These conjunctions are used in pairs. Okay, they are the pair words. They go with pairs in the sentence. Not only but also. Both are used in the same sentence. Either or. You see, both are used in the same sentence. They go pairwise. Neither, nor, though, yet, both, and, whether, or. Let's see few examples. He is not only a dancer but also a singer. This is how they go in pairs in the same sentence. Not only but also. Okay. So here we see it connects he, dancer and also singer with the pair conjunctions. They are correlative conjunctions. Either eat it or throw it away. So we use either as well as or in the same sentence as conjunctions. She is neither happy nor sad. Conjunction neither nor are correlative conjunctions. Though I had money, yet I couldn't buy it. So, you see the connecting word though as well as yet. They are pair conjunctions. They go together in a sentence. I want both coffee and biscuits. Both and are correlative conjunctions. Tell me whether you will accept the proposal or not. Whether or. So such words which go together in pairs or used in a sentence in pairs are called correlative conjunctions. Let's see the usage in the following exercise. Choose the correct option. Dash Gaurav dash Shika applied for a job. So here the proper word would be both and. Both Gaurav and Shika. I cannot decide dash to study French dash German. So I cannot decide, use whether to study French or German. I cannot decide neither to study French nor German looks awkward. So the suitable one would be whether. Whether to study French or German. Dash my sister dash I will be able to attend the party. So the suitable one, neither my sister nor I will be able to attend the party. Dash you clean your room dash stay home this weekend. The more suitable one, either you clean your room or stay home this weekend. Giri found dash his wallet dash all the money in it. Giri found not only his wallet but also all the money in it. Not only but also. We can go to dash Goa dash Matharan. So it is both, to both Goa and Matharan. I would dash go sightseeing dash visit the mall. I would rather go sightseeing than visit the mall. She likes dash Ravi dash Raj. She likes neither Ravi nor Raj. Compound conjunctions. 2 or 3 conjunctions which form compound expressions are called compound conjunctions. Words like so that, as if, even if, provided that, as soon as, in order that, and so on, where you see 2 or 3 words together form a compound expressions. He works hard so that it would be ready in time. So you see the conjunction so that is a compound expression which forms a compound conjunction. They behaved as if nothing had happened. As if is a conjunction. Such an act would not be kind even if it were just. Even if is a compound expression or a compound conjunction. He will buy everything provided that the price is right. Provided that. Anil took off his coat as soon as he entered the house. You see the compound expression as soon as is a conjunction. They agreed to lend on the condition that we return it soon. On the condition that. Okay, is a combined expression giving a compound conjunction. The notice was published in order that all might know. In order that is a combined or a compound expression. Ria walks as though she is slightly lame. As though. So these are the compound conjunctions. Choose appropriate conjunctions from the ones given in the square bracket. He hired a taxi dash he could reach the airport on time. He hired a taxi so that he could reach the airport on time. Ram dash Mohan are present there. Ram as well as Mohan are present there. You can come to the court. Dash you don't tell anything. You can come to the court as long as. You don't tell anything. She looks dash she hasn't eaten for a week. She looks as if she hasn't eaten for a week. They can join us to the resort dash they pay. Provided that. The temperature was low dash it was sunny. Even though. It was